Hey friends, today we are taking a super vibrant palette and knocking it back a bit to create these boho style cards. Grab your stencils and your alcohol inks and let's start creating. Hey guys, it's Amber. Welcome to another Color Connection episode. Here you can see the July 2020 Altenew Inspiration Challenge color palette, and we're using that for inspiration today. I'm using Frayed Leaf, Lavender Fields, and Coral Berry to recreate that color palette. I have a 5x7 gel printing plate here, and I'm bringing my artist marker refills directly to the plate and just squeezing some on. Off to the right, you can see I have a water brush, and I actually have that filled with rubbing alcohol or isopropyl alcohol instead of water because I want to use it to kind of move these alcohol inks around and blend them together a little bit. Now, the green that I'm using has a little bit of yellow in it, and of course yellow and purple are going to make brown, but it's going to create a really pretty subtle boho kind of brown. So I'm mixing these together, so I'm squeezing the water brush to get the alcohol to flow out, and I'm just using the brush nib to blend those colors together a little bit. So you can see we've got a little bit of brown mixing in there. I don't want to mix it too much, but I do want this to be a little bit juicy for the technique that we're going to be doing today. If you want your colors to remain vibrant, then use less alcohol from the water brush and more of just the artist marker refill or your alcohol inks. You just use them straight from the bottle rather than adding the alcohol, because the alcohol that I'm adding is diluting that down and the colors are going to get lighter as a result of that. I picked out a couple stencils, and I'm going to start with the Point stencil. I chose this stencil because there's a lot of wide open space, and this is one of the more, you can see there's a lot of movement in this stencil, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So if you were to ink blend with this stencil without putting a spray adhesive on it, you're going to get movement of the stencil. This is definitely one you're going to want to use spray adhesive with if you're ink blending. If you don't like to use the spray adhesives or things like that, then this is a great technique because it doesn't require you to adhere it to the paper at all. So any of your more open stencils that have movement in it, try out this technique. I have a piece of deli paper here, which is basically just what you wrap your sandwiches in, and it is coated on one side with just a little bit of wax, and so it's a smooth side and a little bit of a rougher side that's uncoated. And I'm just using this to kind of absorb the extra alcohol ink that's on the plate here. So this is giving me the, what is this? I always get confused by this, you guys. Is this the negative or is this the positive? I think this is the negative. Is that the negative? I don't know, you guys. Tell me in the comments below, please. Is what I'm doing with the deli paper, is that taking the negative print or the positive print of the stencil? Let me know down below. I need to know this because I get it wrong, I feel like, in every time I do a video. So here you can see I'm contemplating, do I want to take it off now? Am I ready? We'll go ahead and peel up the stencil, and you can see that this technique just makes your stencils absolutely beautiful. Now, I'm not going to clean my stencils. I keep them just like this, but you certainly can clean them with a little bit of alcohol. That alcohol ink is going to come right off. I put down some buff titanium light acrylic paint here, and I'm just going to spread that out with a brayer. You cannot pull alcohol inks from the gel press without another layer of wet medium. Doesn't necessarily have to be acrylic paint, although I think that works best. You could also use maybe a pigment ink pad or a dye ink pad, but you will get different results. Each one of them lends itself to a different look, so I highly recommend that you experiment with all of them and see which one you like better. I did a video on this for the Build a Flower Lotus blog hop, and I'll be sure to put a link to that blog post in the description down below, and you can check out that video. So I'm just going to use the same deli paper to press my cardstock down. I want to make sure I get it. You want to make sure that your cardstock gets adhered to the gel plate so that the paint sticks and you're able to pull up the alcohol ink and the paint. So you can see I'm just using the brayer here. And then you want to slowly peel back the cardstock to pull your print. And it's just so gorgeous, you guys. I love it. I love these colors. I usually go for the really vibrant colors, but I've gotten into the more desaturated and muted colors not one for pastels, but I absolutely love this. And I love how the stencil, I'm going to show it to you again in a minute. It was a little folded, so I'm just going to sit it under this block for just a couple minutes. I love how the alcohol ink kind of spread out under the stencil and softened the look of the stencil and just all of the texture on this. I just think this is a gorgeous background. You can put just a really simple sentiment on this and it would be a beautiful card, but we're going to add some stuff to it. Before we get to the card making process though, I'm going to create a couple more prints. Okay, so I'm going to lay down these colors again. This time I picked bamboo for the green. I just picked up the wrong one. And I'm going to do the same process. I've sped this up because you've already seen it, and we're going to use a different stencil this time. Now, the deli paper that we used or that we printed with the last stencil, I'm going to hold on to that because not only can I make cards with that, this time I'm going to use On the Plus Side stencil. Not only can I make cards with the deli paper, but I can also use it as gift wrap. You know, you can put it into your gift bags or things like that. You can do collages with it. You can put it into your art journals. There's so many things that you can do with this deli paper, and it's beautiful in its own right. I'm actually going to use some of this to create a card in this video. So we'll come back to this deli paper after it's dry. I printed one of them on the waxy side and one of them on the uncoated side. So I'm just adding more paint to this, and you want a thin layer of paint. Well, I'll say this. If you're printing on smooth cardstock, you want a thin layer of paint. I'm just flipping this over to make sure I like the pattern here and to figure out where I want to put my piece of cardstock. This time I'm going to print 90 degrees to the gel plate. So I want to have just a little bit of white at the top and the bottom. So instead of doing the card and the gel press landscape, I'm doing them opposite of each other. Just used another piece of deli paper, and I'm actually going to use that paper to create some die cuts for these cards. So make sure you keep all of your waste paper, quote unquote waste paper, because you can use it for other things. Note to self, hold the block instead of the gel plate so you don't get paint all over your hand. But look at the texture on this, and look how the plus signs came out. They almost look like flowers. So instead of seeing the plus, you're seeing the negative space, positive space. Again, let me know in the comments which one is it. Is it the negative or the positive? And just look at the texture on there. The colors are gorgeous, and I'm loving that just little bit of white space at the top and the bottom. It's just enough to kind of keep it interesting and have that pop of white. I really like it. So here's these beautiful stencils. Again, you can just clean these off with alcohol ink, but I just leave it on there because it doesn't affect ink blending. And it's not sticky or anything like that because you really take up most of the ink. So again, this is an easy way you can use your more fragile stencils. This panel that you see all the way over on the right is one that I made just to clean my gel plate. I just put some of that paint on there and pulled up the rest of the bits. And I'm actually going to use that as a background. I'm going to pick an area of this deli paper and adhere that to this card panel. That way I get that buff titanium color over there, but I am going to test it on the white. You could definitely do the white if you want a brighter color, but I kind of liked the look of that extra texture behind there. For this one, I'll go ahead and adhere it to the white card panel just to keep it nice and bright because it's more of a delicate pattern. I think you can see the pattern better on the white cardstock. If you're enjoying this video and learning something new, be sure to give me a like and subscribe down below with the notifications on so that you don't miss any new content. I prefer to tear the edges of the deli paper rather than cut it to get more of an organic look. And here are the card panels we're going to work with. I don't end up using the white one. I messed that up and I don't even remember what I did to it, you guys. Okay, so I have the Coffee Break and Red Sunset gradient cardstocks here, and you can see that this Thank You Friend die just barely fits on this cardstock. You got to angle it a little bit, but it's the perfect size to get even this big die through. So as always, I will have all of the supplies listed in the description down below. So be sure to check that out if you're interested in any of these products. If I miss anything, just leave me a comment and I'll be sure to get back to you. Okay, so this is one of the deli paper pieces. This is the one that I brayered off the extra paint onto. And because I brayered it onto the uncoated side of the paper, it almost turned the paint into almost like a chalk paint. It has a matte finish because of the texture of the deli paper, which is really interesting. And I thought that would be great on these cards. I actually also stamped these on white cardstock, thinking I could just do it on white cardstock. And it didn't look right at all with these backgrounds because there's so much texture and interest in the backgrounds. It really needed just a little something. I also rolled some gold paint onto the gel plate to clean it off, and that's on this deli paper as well. So I'm going to stamp this, and this is almond butter crisp dye ink. So I'm going to stamp that on here, and we're going to use both sets of these flowers and leaves on the cards, and we're going to interchange them just to add a little more interest. These stamps and dies that I'm using are the Adore You set. It's an old favorite. I think this is still a really popular stamp set. I just love it. I think they're really artsy, and there's so many different flowers and leaves in the set. So one of my favorites. So you can see I have kind of like this chalky buff titanium and these gold ones. So I'm just going to interchange them. And I've sped this up because honestly, you guys, I can sit here forever and arrange these. So I just kind of interchange them so there'd be a little bit more interesting. And there's the finished card. So I actually will show you how I embossed that thanks die a little bit later in the video. For the next card, I wanted to bring a little more green to the card panel. So I have a piece of green metallic cardstock here, and I have the copper crisp embossing powder. I've stamped one of the thanks stamps from the Mega Label Love stamp set. And I have a piece of the Instant Dimension foam tape on the back there. I'm just going to use my T-square ruler to make sure I get this on the card straight. Normally I eyeball it, but I really wanted to make sure I had it straight. I'm going to offset it so I can leave some space over on the left so that I can add some flowers and leaves to that. And I wish I had offset it just a touch more, but I wasn't going to chance pulling it back off. So I'm just going to add a flower and a couple of leaves here, and I'm just going to adhere those directly to the card panel. But because there's paint on these, and even with the deli paper, even if you were to put some foam dimension behind those, you can't really see it. It doesn't show through. So you can definitely use foam dimension behind those, no problem. Here I have the Tropical Forest enamel dots, and I added a few of those around the green strip. I don't like the placement of those at all. Here I was realizing I could have also used the lightest color in Warm and Cozy as well. I think that would have coordinated well. So I felt like my thanks die was really getting lost, and I was loving the copper embossing powder. So I decided to die cut it again, and I'll just adhere this heat emboss one just directly over that thanks die. And this is the Signature Words die set. I am absolutely loving this color palette, and you can dull down or lighten your alcohol inks by just adding a little bit more alcohol to them and using a light color with them as well. So we added that cream color, and it just added that boho style to these cards. I love to hear from you guys, so let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you soon with more inspiration.
Hello crafters, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. Thanks for watching!